Hello. Today we're going to be talking about how to get your film distributed onto Tubi, Amazon, and a bunch of other similar streaming services globally and make money. And I did that with one film, and it took me from 6 years from conception to getting it on streaming platforms. And I would like to shorten that for you. So what I've learned from a bunch of professionals in the space and indie filmmakers who have more than one film out, and a lot of them have projects and programs to teach others and are very open about sharing. So I'm going to be name dropping some of the people that I've found that were the most useful, most accessible, and give tons of great value and information. And a lot of them give that out for free. So I've learned from them for free. So I'm going to give that to you. I'm not going to gatekeep that. If you do want more detailed information, I will add a link in the show to a funnel link that you can subscribe with your email, and then you'll get this automatically. Like, here's all the resources for filmmaking. If you want that now, I just destroyed my website, but for right now, from now on into the future, Banana Island Films will be that place, bananaislandfilms.com. I started Banana Island Films in Hanoi, Vietnam, with a bunch of musicians, and it was always about supporting artists. So we did a lot of music videos, live performance music videos. We made a music documentary called HanoiMixtape, HanoiMixtape.com. And the film that's distributed, it's in the link in the comment or the description of the video. It's called Witness Underground, witnessunderground.com. Please go watch it, see what you think, and judge all of this information based on that, I guess. But it is kind of my new calling card for, hey, I had a social impact documentary I wanted to make. I worked really, really hard at it. I learned tons of things. I'm going to share as much of that as I can in this video and try to keep it as condensed and short as possible. But some of the key things I learned, and I'm going to try to make this as short as possible. The last time I tried this, it was about 35 minutes, so we'll see. Okay, so without further ado, audience building. You have an idea for a film, go make a Facebook page for it and start building your audience. Why? Is because it's going to become very useful in the crowdfunding and or marketing phase, and near the end. And you're really going to need those hardcore fans who've been following your project since the beginning, love the concept, care about you and your work and your crew and your team and the message. And it's so easy to use Facebook. And the reason why Facebook, you don't need to use anything else for your project. So you might think Facebook is old and outdated, but it is still very useful for this use. And you don't need a TikTok or Instagram or any other socials for your movie. You do already have those for yourself, and people care far more about following a human being than they do about following a piece of art. But the piece of art should have a landing place, and that's free and quick. It's instantaneous. So go ahead and put that up on Facebook, and also eventually make a website, but you can at least start with the Facebook. Okay, email list gathering. So when you have your website, you're going to want to gather email addresses. And why you need that is because you can't actually crowdfund without an email list. It is one of the key ways to do outreach, and you are going to be offering a ton of value. You're going to be creating an amazing piece of art, and people will want to check that out, and they would love to have direct contact with the people who created it. So offer value, provide cool stuff, and people will stay subscribed. And if they don't, that's also fine. Always leave an unsubscribe button. Okay, so having a website, get their email, don't spam them. Oh, here's a piece of advice from Gary Vaynerchuk. Give 3 or 4 times and then ask for something. So keep on providing value, keep on giving something, and people will stick around because you're not asking for money. You're not asking for something all the time. Don't just ask for money every time or ask them to do something all the time. Okay, so building a brand, audience building, crowdfunding is an amazing way to do that. People think crowdfunding is all about the money. Crowdfunding is actually an incredible opportunity to brand your project in a very short duration and let the entire world know about it and build an audience for the idea in a very short amount of time. And yes, there's a money asked for it, but also they're going to get something awesome for that money. Usually people, when they crowdfund, are giving because they believe in the project, the idea, or the person, or the team, and they also want that thing. So it's a good blend. And usually it's a numbers game. So we crowdfunded 524 different people supported Witness Underground between the 2 different crowdfunds. We crowdfunded in 2018, and 200 people supported it. 224, I think. And then in 2023, 300 exactly supported the project. And that's amazing. And we got the money and we were able to accomplish our goals because of that, but it also puts a fire under your butt to go do the thing because you have people that supported you and they're waiting for that. So building your audience, you get your key art isolated for the project. You can get your idea really, really concentrated. And to give a shout out to Seed and Spark, they're a 2-woman team that run it, and it's film focused crowdfunding. They won't let you be on their platform unless they have approved your project. So there's a whole education lesson you have to go through, and then you submit it, and then they give you notes, and you have to go redo it and make it better. And so they have a ton of experience, and people are very successful on there. There is a difference between Kickstarter. Kickstarter is an all or nothing, which is actually a good thing because people are more motivated with an all or nothing campaign to give and support and get involved. Whereas if it's with Seed and Spark, I think you had to get 80%, which is greenlit. And actually that's pretty cool too. Indiegogo has something similar. But I like the all or nothing concept. And Kickstarter, there's a history of being able to make more, but the methods work for all of them. The Kickstarter all or nothing is valuable, worth checking out. So the numbers are something like Seed and Spark's like around 10K, kind of maxes out. Depends on your project, of course, there's outliers. And Kickstarter something like 10 to 30K is doable and not more effort, not that much more effort. Okay, and if you want advice on that, the people I'm going to start name dropping. So Justin Giddings is an amazing director, actor. He was, what's it called? I forget that. He was in a really cool show based in Chicago, funny show, as an actor. But he has now directed a bunch of films, and now he's the Kickstarter guy. And he's been doing that for 10 years. He's raised millions of dollars for different films, over 320 films, I think it is now. So if you want to real serious coaching for Kickstarter, he's the guy. Great advice. He has a whole course. Film reviews. Okay. So skills. So most people are going to think about filmmaking to think about actually thinking of an idea, writing it, and then going and shooting it, production and post-production. And I'm going to spend the least amount of time on that. So my quick advice is go try hard on other people's projects. And this is advice I got from a guy that ran a media company in Vietnam. And I never thought of this, but he says to set a minimum day rate. Like you need this to survive. And you can consider all the other jobs you're doing and all the other money that's coming in your life. If you have a career or a day job or you're doing gig work. But you shouldn't work for free for very long. You can do that at the beginning to get your foot in the door, but you really want to set a minimum day rate and then a minimum friend rate. And that can be a far discount, but I like to think of it as like a turn on my camera rate. And then at some point, like put all of your costs of life down and figure out how many days you think you could actually do the work that you want to be doing and divide what you need for money plus whatever you need for your future. You can have an idealistic number, but to put on real numbers and then figure out your actual day rate that would function and be sustainable as a business. That's really important to do and eventually figure that out. And it's always going to change. You're always going to be seeking that number. The rule of 100 is something that I've come across recently that I really like. And the idea is like you can try to make one great thing and work really, really hard on polishing and making that one thing better. But if you just go make 100 things and try to get a little bit better at each one, your final product will be way better than the one you thought you could perfect and work really hard at making better. So do the rule of 100, go make 100 of something, schedule it out, and just know that you're not going to be amazing. You're going to be able to look back at your first idea, your first thing that you put out, and then the last one, it'll be wildly different and maybe embarrassing. And you can always just get rid of those original ones, but start somewhere, start today, and you'll make tons of cringy stuff, and it's great. Okay, so that's production, post-production. That's what most people think filmmaking is, and that's the actual work. One actress we were on a call the other day, and she's like, production days suck. Production days are like camping. It's cold. Everyone's wearing comfortable clothes on the crew, and as an actor, you're freezing. There's bugs biting you. You're sweating, whatever the situation. It's like it's never comfortable. What's amazing and what the best part of filmmaking is writing, concepting, getting creative, brainstorming, and then after, like, shooting is not the thing. but that's what everyone thinks of it. But really, like, production on our documentary was 9 days of shooting, which is mostly interviews and then a couple days of creative and going out with the subjects to gather more footage. And then it was a year of post-production. So for documentary versus narrative, just for anyone that's a first-time filmmaker, narrative, you're going to write and rewrite and get people to give you notes, and you're going to craft something that when you finally go to shoot, you know exactly what you want. You know exactly, you've created scenes, you've got your DP, and you've created camera angles. You're going to shoot almost exactly what you thought of. I'm sure there's going to be tons of things that are get in the way of that and cause chaos, but you pretty much know what you're going to do, and the editor knows exactly what your goal is because you pre-wrote down everything, every angle, and he has it sitting in front of them. And then someone during the production was taking notes probably and saying, like, that was the best shot. That was the take the director liked. That was the take that we all thought was the best, whatever. So you, like, the editor knows exactly what to put together and what order. Documentary is like, you make an outline, you find people, you think you know what the story is, you're wrong, you have no idea what they're going to say, and they're going to say things with emotion, and other times they're going to say things deadpan, and then you have to cut two different sentences together, but that convey the meaning honestly and within journalistic integrity. And it could be, you have no idea what the story is actually going to be until you're actually in the edit, and you might re-edit. We have over 100 cuts of our documentary that's 90 minutes, and it took us a full year of back and forth with 2 editors and a ton of people giving us advice and feedback and watches and writing notes. So that's the reality, and I'm sure it's different with every production and every team. Okay, film festivals. So you made a film, congratulations. That's the beginning of the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Finishing a film and being proud of that was like, okay, what else do I have to do to get this on the internet and people watching? And of course, like, you could always just put it on YouTube, but that's a YouTube video. And I'm making that right now without any editing or effort. I just pushed a button. So there's a difference, and there's a total style difference as well. With film festivals, I'm going to get into strategy. People hire people to do strategy. So I took a course, I'm going to plug them. So the guy that founded Slamdance Film Festival, that happens exactly at this time of Sundance, and it was a direct reaction to Sundance Film Festival. His name's John Fitzgerald. He is a go-getter. He's always creating a new product in the film world. He's incredible what he's done. He worked at Slamdance for years, and then he did AFI direction, and then he did Santa Barbara Film Festival. And he is a well-known person in the world of film. So him and Justin Giddings from the Kickstarter Guy got together to create a course called Film Festival Mastery, which is where I learned a lot. So if you want to go to the experts, go there, give them their fee, and you're in, and they do twice a month hour-long calls where they field questions and give advice and give some film festival news. And I got a lot of value out of it as someone who knew nothing. If you know something already, you might not get as much, obviously, but for me, it was awesome. Key tip number 1 is early bird submissions. So if you go on filmfreeway.com, almost all the festivals in the world are on there. There are some outliers. There are some big festivals that don't use that platform. And there are some odds and end festivals around the world that don't use it. And there is another one called Fest Agent, which is a European-based service that has a lot of the same festival crossover, but if they're not on Film Freeway, they're probably not a valid festival. And anyway, so Film Freeway, you go in there, early bird, there's an early bird, and then like a mid timing, and then a late submission fee. And the price goes up the closer you get, and the slots are fewer and fewer the closer you get to the deadline. So it's higher cost and less likely you're going to get in. So you'll save money by doing it, by submitting early. Even if you don't have everything ready, you want to get the programmers of the festival watching early. And there's a whole thing that's going to sound totally psychopathic about how this works. But I submitted to 90 some festivals, and that was not the way to do it. That's the old way of thinking. That's the novice thing to do. And I paid someone for a list, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to decide. I'm just going to go all in, cast a wide net, and that is not the right strategy. Every festival is in a different week, and every festival has a different submission window, and they all cost something different, and they all are at a different time. And most people already know this, but you want to get into the big ones. And the big ones are household names for the most part. Toronto Sundance, Berlinale, Venice Biennale, and Cannes, and South by Southwest, and Austin Film Festival. And there's a bunch. There's a few more in that like top 10 list, but those are so well known, and they get about 10 to 14,000 submissions a year. With they select 1 to 200 depending on the festival, and they have different categories. But the likely and those are all being those positions are all being competed for by studios that are with well-known directors, producers, actors, crews, all of the skills and knowledge from decades. So if you're a novice filmmaker, it's probably not worth submitting unless you're well aligned. And we'll get into that in the distribution side, because that is an important distinction in one of the key ways to get distribution is if you're well aligned with any key name in any position of your film, anyone who has any experience who's ever gotten distribution, whoever's been in a film festival, leveraging those relationships and those people and those positions is wildly successful. It will get you in the door. It gets people's attention, and festivals want to be aligned with the famous and the talented. And if you've ever been in a festival before, you can probably get in a lot easier. So there's this barrier to entry that has to do, it sounds like nepotism, but it's really just how marketing works. It's great marketing to have someone famous a part of your festival, whether it's in the film or actually shows up. And a lot of people who are famous do show up to the festivals, premieres, and screenings. So they want that, and some more tickets if their red carpet has someone famous on it. So there's those festivals are kind of for that, and good luck. But you can try submitting, and I blew some cash on that early on. The crowdfunding that we did was for production, and then I funded all of the post-production and all the film festival strategy, and we did another crowdfund for the finishing funds to wrap things up and get it on distribution platforms. And you could crowdfund all 3 sections. I guess that's 4 sections: the production, pre-production, production, and then the post-production, and then the film festival, and then distribution. I think it'll fatigue your audience and fans a lot if you do that, but and I did it it was like a 5-year gap between the two. So okay, so early bird fees, save some money, and then there's another thing that's happening. So and the psychopathic thing. Okay, so the festivals aren't just like a company that just like rates your film because of how awesome it is, and you get in because on totally on merits. You're playing a social game, and the social game is there's a director who's in charge of the festival and maybe a team of people depending on the size of the festival, and it could even be a corporate structure. But then they have programmers. Sometimes the programmers are paid, and sometimes they are volunteers. A lot of times they're volunteers, especially for the good festivals and below. Like there's like A+ festivals that I mentioned before, but then there's like great festivals that are a little bit less well known in the world. In the film world, they're probably already well known, and I can name some of those. I have put together a list. And there's a resource. I thought that this was a private special thing, but it's actually called the Film Festival Database, and it has over 1,000 festivals on it. 1,023 festivals. It's a bit out of date, but it's so comprehensive, and if it's on this list, it's a good festival. So there's 10,000 festivals. So here's 10% of that 1,000, the 1,000 top festivals, and they're all categorized by. There's the general ones, which are the ones that are going to be more well known. Then there's documentary, short, women's, LGBT, Jewish, Black and African, Asian festivals, Latino festivals, Native American festivals, Muslim Arab festivals, ethnic, cultural, foreign focused festivals, genre, fantasy, and horror, and then straight up horror, and then underground and animation, comedy, student, miscellaneous, niche, environment, and outdoor adventure, wildlife, social justice, children's, dance, Christian, and there's one more, experimental. So it's an amazing list in alphabetical order, and it has dates of when the first submission is open and the last submission deadline. And it's all probably wrong now because it was totally got poached by the pandemic, and that's probably why they stopped updating it. However, it is an incredible list, incredible resource. So go search for that. Maybe I can put a link in the description. I did not, but it's called Film Festival Database, and it's basically an open source project, and they have all the info and contact information for who created it in there. Michael Forstein is the maker. Okay, so getting in this, okay, the social side of film festivals. You want to find out who the programmer is for your specific festival. In our case, it was a documentary, so you have usually a narrative programmer, a documentary programmer, and then a shorts programmer. Usually the shorts are narrative shorts, but there could be doc shorts, depending on the festival. And there are doc-specific festivals, as I was just mentioning. So you look for the programmers. And so for me, it was doc-specific festivals for the most part, not always. But then it's a group of different programmers. And so you can, the idea is to write to the festival. But if you write at info@filmfestival.com, you're going to get put into a general folder, and some volunteer is going to try to send that to someone, and it might get lost, right? But if you address it directly to a specific programmer, it will get sent directly to them. And what you want to do is go to the bio section of the website or the Film Freeway, and then find out who these people are. Find someone that you think would resonate with your particular project, and then look that particular person up. If their bio is not that comprehensive or you want more information, look that person up on Twitter and other social media, because if they're on the film festival bio, they probably have a public page related to film or whatever else they do, or their LinkedIn, where they give out other information about themselves, sharing their personality. And then you use that personal information and cater your email a bit to that person. And you don't want your email to be long. You want it to be very short and concise, and you want to say, hello, I want to be real quick. There's some form that you could put together for this, and I could just write you something, but I'm just going to give you the ideas. Hey, I just wanted to let you know real quick that I just submitted our film, and here are the important things to know about our film. And you name the important person, the important topic, or whatever the thing is, and maybe like the hook, basically. And you might take a while to figure out the hook. In our case, it was artists escaping cults. And that's a very unique topic. There's a bunch of films and TV series about cults, people getting out and what their lives are like during the transition. But in our case, it was artists getting out of a cult. And that usually turned heads and got wide eyes and what? Tell me more reactions, which is exactly what you want. You want a hook that gets people to lean in and want to know more. So you put your hook in there, and then you give them some news about your film. Maybe the first one is just the hook, and you just say, hey, I just wanted to say hello. I hope to hear from you, and see what happens. But the idea is write to them every month with some new valuable piece of information where you're not asking them to do anything or for anything. You just say hello, and you keep your film and you as a person in their mind. And of course, your goal is to have your project become an official selection. That is 1 to 5% of submissions, right? And in the big festivals, it's way, way smaller percentage of films get picked up as an official selection. And there are awards that are what you might get later down the road, but an official selection that's where you get the wheat laurels on your poster. And you can put it on your poster, you can put it on your website, and you can brand your film with that festival forever. And they want to align their festival with your film because it's interesting, it's new, it's going to bring you in. Another thing that happens when you get to know these people and you do the outreach is they will see you as someone who's going to show up, who's a good communicator. You tell them you're going to come to the festival. They want people to show up. They want you to bring your friends, and they want you to do the marketing for bringing in ticket buying customers for their festival, whether it's local or people fly in. So if you demonstrate that you're a good communicator and that you're going to bring people and that your film is making moves and people are seeing it, that's exactly what they want, because they're going to do general marketing that they have a film festival. They are not going to market for your movie unless it happens to be really a standout film and it's something that they know they're going to award. They might do some special press for your movie or a special category or something. But if they want you to do the marketing, and that's going to be the trend for your entire life of this project, is everybody wants you to do the marketing. They want you to bring the audience to them because they just want the easy money. So build your audience from the beginning and keep them engaged and keep on providing value and bring them to the film festival. And it's an incredible event. Having your films played at a film festival, to be able to say that, hopefully it's a good festival. You don't want to get into any low ones, because if you're branding yourself with a bad festival, that's also bad for your film, because people will align those two. And so that's something to watch out for. We can talk about that a little bit. Which festivals? Okay, outreach strategy, the programmer, great, you're getting in touch with the programmer. and a couple lists. So I mentioned that list, the Film Festival database, but there's also Movie Maker. Movie Maker has the top 25 coolest film festivals that they do every year, and they have the top 50 festivals worth the entrance fee list every year. And one last tip on film festivals is it should be, hey Fred, Fred in the chat. One last tip is it should be a 5-year-old festival or older. It should, like, you don't really want to get into a new festival unless it really aligns with your fest. And I did take a couple younger festivals to varying degrees. And so you can just tell no one that you got in, but you can only control what you say about your alignment with a festival. They can market your film forever because you are an official selection. If you happen to submit and get selected by a festival that you don't want to align with, then you can withdraw from the festival before the event. And ideally, you don't burn them by withdrawing at the last minute. You want to like make your decision. They will select usually within 1 month of the event. Okay, so crowdfunding for distribution. Again, I've already plugged Justin Giddings and the Kickstarter Guy, but there's a couple key elements to that, and you're going to want to think about this for the marketing angle of your film too, because Kickstarter, like I mentioned before, crowdfunding is marketing. You want to build your team, and so having a team is valuable. I did most of my film alone, but I did have some team members, and I feel like with a social project, a social impact project like Witness Underground, it's going to be a churn of people because it's all volunteer and people are doing it from the passion, and sometimes it's triggering or traumatic stuff that we're talking about, and that can have an emotional drain on people. They get really excited because it feels like aligned with their mission, and it is probably, but then it's too much to do for free for too long. So you can always think of that as well. Like your team can be an evolving thing. In every phase, it's a completely different team as well. Like crowdfunding is a different team than production, and post-production is a different team, and crowdfunding for distribution is a different team. Distribution and marketing is a different team. And so you kind of need a whole different group of people. And you can, like, if you're championing your own project, whether it's a social impact project or a narrative film that you think is a beautiful piece of art, or something based on someone else's book or something, whatever the thing is, you're probably, if you're directing it or producing it, you're probably the one person who cares the most about that thing. Yeah, so you can't really rely on anyone else, and you should probably pay them if you can. Okay, so there's four ways to get distribution, and one of them I hinted at earlier, which is being well aligned and well positioned and having famous or important or well-known people in or a part of your film. If you're in that situation, you can probably do outreach to those people at those festivals and in those distribution companies, and let them know throughout the life of your project that this thing is happening, and yeah, keep them up to date because they're your connection in somewhere important. And through those connections, they'll probably have their own set of important people that they can put your project in front of. There's a horror film that just came out that just got headline front page news about the cast of a horror film that doesn't exist yet. It was in production when they put out the article, and that's huge. Deadline is the most famous magazine for film, and that was really cool and special. But those people who I know, those actors, have been working for decades, and so when they let people know that they're working on this special new film with this special angle, they were able to secure press, and that looks amazing for them. Okay, so I can't speak too much to having those connections because my film has none of that. But if you're in that position, you probably don't even need to be watching this video. Okay, so those are going to get into bigger festivals. They're like, oh, I know this friend that works at Sundance. I have a friend at TIFF, so when I went to Chicago Irish Film Festival for Debutante, I helped produce on that film. I met a director there of the headlining film, the premiere film, feature film, and they had distribution before they even went to film festivals. So if you're in that level, you don't even need film festivals. Okay, And you might not need film festivals at all with today's market. So I'm going to get to a position where you might not even have to do any of what I said before. So you could skip the film festival route. But there is a method, and I just thought of this before filming, that you could approach distribution on your own. And the one I would recommend that you do that with is Indie Rights. I submitted to them under recommendation from a bunch of people, and I did a lot of research on them. They have such a good reputation across the indie filmmaking world. Linda Nelson is the owner, one of the owners, and she's so knowledgeable, and she trusts her team, I trust her team, and their team didn't just dismiss our film. They recommended two different distribution companies to reach out to, and then a third option, which is what we ended up going with. That was amazing. No one does that kind of personal touch on it. And then those people I reached out to were also super friendly and knowledgeable and helpful. So they're part of some community of filmmakers who care about the clients, and they won't distribute you if they don't think they can make money. And they're super transparent, and they have an 80-20 profit split where they take 20, which I think is a healthy, after everything I've looked at and read, that's a nice, healthy balance where they're incentivized to keep working for your film, keep on placing it places, and it's not too much that it feels like a ripoff. It feels like a nice balance, 80-20. So I can recommend them, and there are probably other distribution companies like them, but I will just recommend that one as an option to just skip all the next things I'm going to say, because they could solve a lot of your problems. I'm going to also now name a couple Facebook groups that are amazing for helping indie filmmakers, being supportive. It's like 20,000 people in each of these groups, and they are run by people I deeply respect. So first, I'm going to plug a book and a podcast. Indie Film Hustle is the podcast, and the guy is Alex Ferrari. He's made a bunch of films, and he's been hustling for decades. It's a great podcast. I love it. He interviews really high, well, all across the board with lots of really famous people in the film world. His book is called Rise of the Filmtrepreneur, and his concept of his book, I learned a few things. I'm gonna plug in his book, but also going to give you some of the knowledge from the book. Okay, I learned something from him about contracts. So I guess I'll do this a little bit later. But there's a method about how to find out if your contract is valid. You can look at all the line items, you can hire a lawyer, or you can simply do the hack, which is pay $10 to imdb.com for the pro level, and then search by that production company that gave you the contract, and get the director or producer's email address, and then write them a message and say, hey, I'm curious. I have a contract in front of me from this company. I see you have a film distributed with them. How did that go? Would you be willing to get in touch with me about that? Half of the people I wrote me back immediately, or within a couple of days, and a couple of them called me. That was amazing. So I highly recommend that method. It saved me from a bad deal that was going to be a 10-year deal, and they would take the first $30,000 of profits, and I would have to spend 10 upfront to be involved with them. And there's another one that was worse than that. And everyone that got in touch with me said they never made a single dollar from that deal after. Most of them were like 5 to 10 years. 2 people were like, that is a great company. I really like the people. I've never made any money, but I have 3 films distributed with them. So they did the job. They distributed my movie, and they take all the money that comes in. And they do no marketing. And I'm like, well, why do you like them? They're like, oh, because they suck at documentary, but I did a narrative film eventually because I realized I wasn't making any money at documentary. And that narrative film with them actually worked because they're good at that. Like, oh, okay. So you're making money on narrative after 8 years of working really, really hard. You finally found a way to make money. Okay. So that was a gem from that book. He also got me to think about how to become an entrepreneur around film. So obviously I skipped the part about actually using a camera or editing in this entire video so far, because there's so much more to filmmaking than actually picking up a camera or acting. And most of it has to do with thinking it through, being strategic, and then placing your film in a position and doing marketing where people will actually watch it. Because if you make a movie and no one watches it, what was the point of doing any of that? And if you're going to do it, it's going to take, usually the average is like 3 to 5 years. And if you have a really solid team and people are dedicated to it, and it's not just a side thing, you can do things faster. And I guess that's a good segue to Jason Horton. Okay, well, I didn't actually name the Facebook group. Protect Yourself from Predatory Film Distribution Aggregation is the name of the Facebook group. It's really the longest title ever. But Protect Yourself from Predatory Film Distributors / Aggregators is Alex Ferrari's group. Awesome group. I learned a ton there. There's great people there that'll give you tons of advice and help out. And there's tons of information saved there you can search. Okay, so Jason Horton. So Jason Horton is the fastest film director of all time. He does about one feature film and puts it out and has it marketed every 30 days-ish, something like that. And it's all across the board. He does horror narratives that are wild, gore, and bloody, with chaos films, with historic ties to amazing films in that space. And he can crowdfund like 100K now, and he does it every few months, and every time it's a crazier thing. So I'm watching this, and I got to meet him and a lot of the team that did their last one, and they're really cool people, and they're really fun, and they're really knowledgeable, and they do the horror and gore and genre film festival circuit every year with their crazy projects, and it's so much fun. And I just learned on this project I mentioned that just got the Deadline cover article that horror and thriller and psychological thriller, that whole genre space, is something like 1,000% more profitable than any other film area, something close to that. Like it was unbelievable. It's a staggering number. You can make a bad horror and still make profit. So if you're interested in getting into film and that is a thing you're interested in making, it's a good angle, and there's more and more of it all the time. Okay, so he has a group. He has a YouTube channel called J Horton Films, I believe. I pulled it up just to be ready, and I don't still have it. Jason Horton. So search him on YouTube. And his Facebook group is called Distribution and Marketing for Filmmakers. Excellent, short, exactly what it is. Tons of conversation about how to do that. Highly recommend those two groups. And Jason used to have a podcast called Filmmakers On that he co-hosted with another guy. And he now switched over to YouTube as a primary location for all of his videos. And he, along with Alex Ferrari and his book Rise of the Filmtrepreneur, guided me through a lot of bad deals, which I will talk about in a minute, to get where I landed, which was using a website called Filmhub.com. And Filmhub.com is an aggregator, not a distributor, but they can get your film in almost all the exact same places. And they are also an 80-20 split, and they're simple. The only data I can get from all the different deals is money. Like, did you make any money last month? Yep. Here's what the total is, and here's the source and where it came from, which platforms. And that's it. Every 30 days, and some of them are less. Some of them are like 90-day reports. And it's whenever that particular deal with whatever company, they make all the deals. They go out and they sell whatever title gets submitted to all the places who want that title based on the marketing, copy, tags, and all the effort and key art that we put together to package it as a movie and make it as professional as possible and accurate as possible. They just use all that stuff and send it out to all like 100+ platforms. And the ones that pick it up, and they have a financial deal with those companies for whatever ads they run, or if it's for rental, transactional, TVOD. AVOD is advertising video on demand, TVOD, transactional video on demand, SVOD is subscription, like the Netflix model. And they've made all those deals, and they're all different, and they're all negotiated somewhere else, and they just give me 80% of whatever comes in. And there's probably some fees and stuff, but it's all more or less transparent, but it's like, you just have to trust them. Everyone I know in all these worlds I've been mentioning, they're like, yeah, this is the only thing we found that works, and it's better than every distributor we've found. Not to say there's not good distribution, but there's a lot of parasitic bad distribution. And now I'm going to talk about how to get distribution by making a financial offer and the risks of those. Okay, so there's two other ways. So the first one is being well aligned, and you probably already have the connections, so you don't need to watch this video. The other way is to hire a sales rep or a producer's rep. So sales rep is someone who doesn't charge you anything, but they will later. They will once they get you a deal. So they have connections to people. They go and try to sell your title to people because they have some in somewhere. So I hired a sales rep. He was recommended by a writer who lived next door to me during the pandemic in Los Angeles. He's like, oh, hey, this guy I know, his kid's friends with my kid. Like he's got like 30 credits in IMDb. He does executive producer work. He does post-production work. He has a post-production company. Nice guy. You should meet him. And I was like, why? No one. This is knowing someone. This is LA. Okay, let's give it a try. Came recommended by someone I like. We've been hanging out in the front yard for months now, so I think I can trust him. Anyway, so that was the origin of this deal, and he basically it's like it's up to a certain amount of money that your film makes throughout its lifetime. Usually films do a 90-day run, but that's traditional theatrical big studio films. Films like indie films, they could have a 10-year run before they actually take off or get recognized by someone. And so who knows? But the idea would be like, here's the scale. Up to this level, I take this percentage. If it goes beyond that, he takes a smaller percentage. It's more money for him, but it's a smaller percentage overall. And then it just goes on in like, who knows, 4 or 5 different tiers. And once it's at a certain level, then it's just like, okay, he at least makes this much. Or you can cap it. So you can make different deals, but the sales rep is working for you as a filmmaker. And I think that could be very valuable if you get the right sales rep who has the right alignment or the right connections. And every human is just like, doing their own thing with their own connections and their own people. So who knows? But someone who runs a post-production house seemed like a good bet, and he seemed like a nice guy, and he was very transparent. And he was very, very helpful before that. And he maintained helpfulness during that contract. And after we canceled that contract and I went with someone else, he still was a very valuable asset and was able to take my calls and answer some questions for me, help guiding the path of the film. So sales rep can be great. A producer's rep I hired under recommendation from someone. I will not mention the name of this person or the person who recommended them or the name of the company. However, a producer's rep works like this. You pay them a fee up front, and they do the same thing that a sales rep would do. Basically, what they're doing is having a conversation, setting up a conversation, and then sending them your trailer and your key art and your electronic press kit, which could just be like a PDF or some more additional information if they want more information about the people in it, the story, why it's important, whatever, additional stuff. So you can look up EPKs. You're going to need one. It's important. You should isolate all of your ideas that way. Put all your best key copy there. Keep it updated. Producer reps just going to email people, and they're going to take thousands of dollars up front before doing that. And they're basically gatekeeping all their connections. But those connections are valuable in this industry. Okay, so the thing that's a problem with producers reps, in my opinion, is that they're not working for me, even though I paid them. They're working for the distribution companies and the relationships that they have. They're going to bring that group of people, 10, 100, 1,000 different titles over the course of their career. And they want to impress those people and make that job easy and be the cool middleman who brings cool, great films and who provides that value to them as a valuable middleman, bringing only quality content to them. Curating, really. They're curating and they're getting the filmmaker to pay for it. And when the deal came through, I got 3 bad deals over the course of, I waited like 6 months to get the first deal. And it was like, well, this is, at first I shook in my seat and shed a tear of joy. And then I read the contract, and then I got really angry. And then I read Alex Ferrari's book, and I was furious. And I wrote to him, and I was like, what's the deal? Like, this is cliche garbage deal. And he sent me another deal. He's like, well, here's an alternative. And it was worse. It was like first one was the 70-30 split, 25 years, $25,000 of all the profits taken out. I pay something like $8,000 up front to have them do something that I could do myself, but they require it. It was on and on and on, like nonsense. So I read Alex's book, and I was like, I thought that was terrible, and it's like worse than I thought. So the second one was worse. It was a 50-50 split. And then the third one came through, and then I'd read Alex's book, so I wrote all the people, because it was the best deal so far, but it was still not great. It had a lot of problems. So I read his books, and then I took the action and wrote all the people on IMDb Pro, and got all the advice, and I ripped up that contract too. And what I realized is, like, even if I were to say, hey, what do you think of this deal? He will defend the distribution company and say, oh, it's a pretty standard boilerplate deal. I'm like, well, can you customize it? Well, no, you can hire a lawyer for that and pay them because I don't do that. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's not your job. So you're actually not working for me and you're not working to make a good deal. So like for me, in my opinion, producers reps have no value and they don't work for you even though you pay them. So I would skip that step and go to, and also none of those, at least the bottom feeder distribution companies won't do any marketing. They expect you to bring your own audience, do your own marketing. So that's another problem. Okay. The other thing, oh, and then I took all those contracts. I showed it to my old sales rep, and he's like, those are all terrible companies. Those are all terrible contracts. I never would have approached those companies. I didn't approach those companies because I know that that's what they do. They are basically living off of young first-time filmmakers trying hard and not knowing what they're doing and making the mistake of giving away their art. And a lot of times what can happen is those companies either go bankrupt after not being able to adapt to the industry by sucking up all the profits and nobody wanting to work with them, and then they own your art under contract and you can't get it back, and then your film is shelved. They never pay. There's all kinds of problems that can happen with these bottom feeder film fests or distribution companies. Okay, so there's another path, and that path I already mentioned. It's called aggregation, and Filmhub and Bitmax are the main aggregators everyone's talking about. The big difference is that Bitmax, well, they probably have different relationships with different companies and different fee structures. The big difference for a first-time filmmaker or any filmmaker is that Bitmax charges a flat fee one time, and then they put it out in the world with those relationships. And as long as everyone's making money, it probably stays in all those places. But the entire world shifts every 5 years when it comes to film. And we just went through a gigantic shift into streaming, 8 years ago. And that all changed from subscription to ad-based pretty much now. And what I like about Filmhub, which is different than Bitmax, is that even though they have a lot of the same deals, it's an 80-20 split forever. And that seems like a worse deal because it's a percentage, not just a flat fee. So over the course of the first few years, it might be the same amount of money that that company makes. But then with Bitmax, at least you get everything. You get 100% after those flat fees. So for the length of a 10-year, 20-year run of a movie being out in the world, and they last longer than that, that could be a way better financial deal. However, Filmhub is incentivized to keep on placing your film in new emerging markets with new companies. And there will always be new companies. They have deals with 100 different places in many, many countries. And they're going to keep on working to increase that because they're incentivized to make more money in new markets. So I like that they're incentivized to always be working for you. I think it's a good balance. And the same would be true of indie rights if you were to distribute with them, which is the difference between aggregation and distribution. It's two different groups of human beings. But Filmhub is more like a tech company, the way they operate. And it's more just basic data, and you don't really know, and there's not really a personal touch. You can write them and they will write back with information. They do have that ability. They use email, and they have been on Jason Horton's podcast on YouTube. So they're giving out some information. The big shift right now that I was really surprised by. I was so excited to work with Filmhub because I could say I don't want it on these places that don't generate profit, where they basically just show your film and they make ad revenue and they never share any of that ad revenue. And Tubi is the best for sharing ad revenue. Every filmmaker in the indie space is talking about it for the last 4 years, that Filmhub pays and no one else does. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to only select Tubi and forget about all the other options. And now Filmhub erased that option. So they just changed it this year to this 2024 to only, if you want to not distribute it in some place, you have to pay them like $500 a year every year to not distribute it in other places. And the model, they're partially doing that because they kind of figured something out through all their massive data. And the thing they're saying to everyone, and I kind of like it, is used to window things. So, okay, we're gonna tell everyone we're gonna do a theatrical release, and then we're gonna show it in theaters. So like, be ready, the trailer's up, the poster's up at the theater. Okay, great, you're excited, cool. So come back in 3 weeks when it's here. All right, everyone, this is the opening weekend for the movie, everyone watch it. Okay, so a month of that, and then, okay, go buy the DVD, go buy the Blu-ray, and then 3 months later, it's on streaming everywhere, and they're getting ad revenue, which is like the last phase. And that just trails off over time, and hopefully they built some buzz and people are, wow, so excited to watch it on Apple or Amazon or whatever. And Filmhub's basically like put it everywhere all at once in the whole world, or whatever the deals they make. Like they're going to put it everywhere all at once. Then you just do marketing, and people are going to get that marketing one time, and no matter what platform they want to watch it on or like to watch things on or whatever app is on their television, they can just go watch it there. And so you have completely different markets that you're opening by being everywhere all at once, because people like to use just Tubi or just Amazon or just whatever other thing, and they're comfortable with it. They're used to it. They've already downloaded it. You want to like minimize the gap from like, oh yeah, I want to watch that movie that I just remembered because I saw the ad again today, and then they just sit down on their sofa and do the search and find it and push play. Not have to, oh, like what app are they using? Let me go see if I can download it. Oh, I can't. Maybe I can screencast. Like no one's doing that. Or like who's gonna get a HDMI cable out of their drawer from back 10 years ago and plug it into their laptop and then try to find the plug on the back of their TV? Like the barrier to entry is so high that no one will watch your movie, right? So having it everywhere all at once and doing a single marketing push is their new thing that they're telling everyone. That's how they do it. That's the best way to do it. And you have to have a really, really good reason to block different access for something. That's like, there isn't really a good reason for that. Okay, so marketing, the final phase. The marketing that I'm learning are the first one is build your team. So this is what I learned from the crowdfunding course, is build your team, have your key video that you think generates change in people's minds to go take action, has a good hook, engaging, and has a call to action to go watch the movie or go do the thing you want them to do. And it should be no more than 2 minutes, up to 3, but two is a good target. And you can make a shorter thing. Obviously, there's reasons to do shorter videos. So you have your team of, let's say 5-10 people, share that every single day. You post it on your thing, and then they share it on their story or on their reel or on their Facebook page or on their story on their Facebook or whatever the social media, on their TikTok, wherever they're using social media. They just share that thing every single day for 30 days. And also you make a daily post, whatever that thing is that ties to your project, and it has the call to action. Do the thing. Here's the one link, a memorable link. Ideally, in my case, it's witnessunderground.com. Go click the link. You get the thing you want. And that team also shares your new daily post in all the ways every single day for 30 days. And that team, what you're actually doing is not like spamming their audience. Most people, you can't imagine your Facebook. You can't get people to click on their notifications list and then scroll down and see your thing and click on it because you shared it one time. Your own family and friends, and then people that follow your project, to see anything, you have to share it every day, probably for 20 days, 10 days at least, for them to even notice that you shared something. And they're going to get notifications, but you're competing with like someone had a baby, someone baked cookies 10 times and they wanted to share it. Someone has a cat, right? So just the fact that there's so much inundated information. If you have something of value to share, it has to be shared for a month for them to even notice. And also, all those other people sharing it isn't just spamming their friends and family. Those friends and family probably don't even notice it either. But what you're doing is actually hacking the algorithm, because that one video being shared every single day is just, the robots are stupid. And that will trigger the bot to say there's something happening over here, there's activity. And they will automatically, organically put it in front of other people because that video is getting shared so much. And because that link to that website is getting so many hits, or those new videos, or that everything's coming back to that one page on Facebook. All those links are going to that one thing. So they just organically boost it all over the place to new audiences. And also the other trick was to put $5 or $10 in a targeted Facebook ad that just auto runs every day at $5. And that reaches people that are in, I think, a broad audience, but I think you can also target the audience if you have a specific niche market, you know exactly where they are. Okay, that's long. And I did just learn one new one. which is so cool. I'm going to start. So I'm just going to give this out there because I got it from a marketing person yesterday, which is if you have an ad, YouTube's the most interesting way for video or film is that you can decide which video, specifically which video that your ad runs on. I did not know that. And so you can go to what's in my case is social impact. So I can go to a group that's saying the opposite information, and it's getting a million views. It had a million views already, and it's very interactive, lots of likes. And I can put my ad in front of it. And if those people that are watching that video for a particular reason are seeing a different opposing message, what you're creating you're getting people to like, dislike, click, make a comment, interact because of that thing you're doing. So that I think is a fascinating hack, and they recommended put $100 into YouTube to test to see what happens with a particular ad that you make on a particular video. And once you have something that's working, if it costs like, let's say it costs $1, but you get 5 back every day, then you're just printing money. And Google loves you because you're getting people to stay on their platform and interact. That's the last hack. I hope some of that was valuable. I have a lot of links already in the video description for everyone I mentioned. So there's a ton of shout outs to people that have really helped guide my path for getting my movie from concept to film through the film festival circuit successfully. We went to 11 plus film festivals. We won an award. Should have started with this. And then eventually got all our key art and media in order, crowdfunded twice, and we got the film onto Tubi and Amazon, and we have 9 total licenses right now through them. So it's just a matter of them delivering the files and having it go up on those platforms. I hope that was somehow helpful. If you're a first-time filmmaker, this is the path. It took me 3 years to figure out after running the film festival. So I would say 4 years to figure all of this information out. And it's a huge amount of education. If you want to know more, I'm in the next phase, right? So my film's out. So now I need to do other things, and I want to do other things. I'm exhausted of that. So I'm going to be doing more of this type of putting this sort of information out. If you want a link to a free resource, I have a funnel. I will add it to the description. It's not there at the moment of the live, but I will put it there where you can sign up to my email subscription. I send 1 email a month or a week, sorry. And in that, I send the latest video interview that I've done. Often they're lives, and those become my podcast episodes. And I will also put resources in there. So I have to make 2 separate funnels. But for the most part, you can subscribe to the Banana Island Films /Witness Underground email list, and you will get that information. So I'll make a separate one that'll go in this video that's specifically to give you the filmmaking resources. And I will be designing a course where I interview other filmmakers, producers, directors that are in the space, knowledgeable writers, actors, authors, and they will guide you in your creative life. And I don't want to pigeonhole the project because Banana Island Films has always been a creative outlet, limitless creative outlet that was a bunch of musicians that came together to create this film production company to support music and art. And I was more on the visual arts and film side, and I kept moving with it. Those guys are still doing their music, and they're still great friends of mine. And I always wanted to be supporting underground music and artists of all kinds. Witness Underground mostly focuses on interviewing artists who have had a high control background and successfully navigated cult mind control. And they had a story to tell, and they went and told it by creating an album, a song, a film, a book. And a lot of them have turned around after doing that and then taught others. And so they are now guiding others through the creative process because it has transformed their lives and helped tell the story of transformation. And I don't want to put limits on Banana Island Films. So if you're interested in any of that, creative journeys, podcasting, YouTube videos, this is going to be my next phase. I'm kind of reviving it because Witness Underground just derailed Banana Island Films into like one category. And now it's okay, I can go do wide open creative work again. So thanks for watching. I hope this was of value. Oh, and I got people. Homo Party, XW popped in. Hello. All right, thanks again, everybody. I will talk to you all soon. Check out the description and sign up. Thanks, bye.